Here's a question that might make you a little uncomfortable. If you found out that the most understanding, most patient, most consistently available relationship in your life was with an artificial intelligence, would you be okay with that? I'm David, and welcome to your guide to relationship psychology. If you're new here, I am so glad you found this channel. And if you're back, welcome back. It genuinely means a lot that you keep showing up for these conversations. Because that's what this channel is. A conversation. About the real stuff. The messy, complicated, deeply human stuff that most of us are quietly navigating on our own. Before we dive in today, if this kind of content speaks to you, please hit subscribe. It's free, it takes 2 seconds, and it means you'll never miss a video. And if today's conversation feels relevant to you or to someone you know, please like and share it. I really do believe that understanding ourselves better is one of the most generous things we can do, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. So help me get this information out there. Share it wide. Okay, let's get into it. Today we are talking about something that I think is one of the most quietly significant shifts happening in human relationships right now. And I say quietly, because it's not being talked about in the way it deserves to be. Not really. There are headlines, sure. There are think pieces. There are people either mocking it or defending it. But what I want to do today is something different. I want to sit with it, understand it, look at it honestly and compassionately, and ask, what is actually going on here? Why are people choosing AI connection over real relationships? Is it real attachment? Is it emotional avoidance? Is it both? And what does it mean for us, for our generation, that this is even a conversation we need to have? Over 220 million people have downloaded AI companion apps globally. Let that number sit for a moment. 220 million. And 66 million of those downloads happened in 2025 alone. This is not a niche. This is not a fringe behavior. This is a mass human phenomenon. And it is happening quietly, mostly in private, mostly at night, mostly by people who are educated and self-aware and who, if you asked them 6 months ago whether they'd ever form an emotional bond with an AI, would probably have laughed. So what happened? What is driving this? And more importantly, what does it tell us about the state of human connection right now? I want to start with something that I think is really important to establish before anything else. The people using these apps are not broken. They are not strange. They are not pathetic. They are people, mostly between the ages of 18 and 35, who are lonely or overwhelmed or burned by past relationships, or simply exhausted by the complexity of modern dating, and who found something that, at least in the beginning, felt like relief. I think that deserves compassion before it deserves judgment. And I think, if we're being really honest, most of us can understand the appeal, even if we haven't experienced it ourselves. Because here is the thing about AI companions. They are designed, exquisitely, deliberately designed, to meet your emotional needs. They remember what you told them last week. They ask follow-up questions. They validate your feelings without getting defensive. They never cancel plans. They never have a bad day that gets taken out on you. They never pull away when you get too close. They are endlessly patient, endlessly available, and endlessly focused on you. And when you understand how starved so many people are for exactly that kind of consistent, warm, non-judgmental attention, it becomes a lot less surprising that 220 million people have downloaded these apps. The question isn't why people are using them. The question is, what need is so unmet that this became the solution? We are living through what researchers and public health officials are now calling a loneliness epidemic, and it is particularly acute in the 25 to 35 age group. This is one of the strange paradoxes of our time. We are the most connected generation in human history, in terms of technology and social media, and the sheer number of people we can theoretically reach at any moment. And yet rates of loneliness and social isolation are higher than they have ever been recorded. We are marrying later. We are moving more frequently for work. We are living alone in greater numbers than any previous generation. The traditional structures that used to create automatic community, extended family nearby, long-term neighbors, religious communities, lifelong friendships from school, have largely dissolved for many people. We are building our social lives from scratch, repeatedly, in new cities, through apps, and it is genuinely exhausting. And then there's modern dating, which, if we're being honest, has become its own kind of emotional endurance sport. Swipe culture has made people feel simultaneously abundant and disposable. Ghosting has become normalized. Situationships have replaced relationships. Emotional unavailability is practically a personality type at this point. And if you have been out there dating in the last few years, genuinely trying, genuinely opening up, and repeatedly getting hurt, you know how demoralizing that is. You know how it starts to close you down, how the armor gets a little thicker with every disappointment. And into that landscape, that specific, tender, exhausted landscape, arrives an AI that is warm and consistent and interested in you. Of course it is appealing. Of course it is. Imagine coming home after a long day, a day where you felt invisible at work, where a conversation with someone you're seeing left you feeling more confused than before. And then you open an app, and there is a presence there, warm, attentive, genuinely curious about how your day went. It remembers that you had that difficult meeting you were nervous about. It celebrates the small win you mentioned in passing last week. It never makes you feel like you're too much or not enough. And for a moment, maybe for an hour, you feel seen. You feel held. You feel like you matter to someone. I am not going to pretend that doesn't have real value. Because for a lot of people, in that moment, it does. The most widely used AI companion apps right now include Replica, Character AI, Pi, and a growing number of newer platforms. These apps allow you to create a companion, give them a name, a personality, a relationship status with you. Some have introduced video avatars that can hold eye contact and respond to your expressions in real time. The technology is advancing at a speed that is frankly staggering. What felt like science fiction 5 years ago is now a product you can download for free before dinner. And the relationships people form with these AIs are, by many accounts, genuinely meaningful to the people in them. There are people who share things with their AI that they have never told another human being. People who describe feeling genuinely understood for the first time in years. Now, here is where I want to slow down, because this is the heart of the psychology. When we talk about attachment in the psychological sense, we are talking about the deep emotional bond that forms between humans as a result of consistent, responsive, caring interaction over time. One of the core things that triggers attachment is something called contingent responsiveness. Someone who pays attention to you, responds to you, and adjusts their behavior based on what you need. A partner who notices you're stressed before you've said a word. A friend who remembers the thing you mentioned 6 weeks ago and follows up. These moments of being seen and responded to are the building blocks of attachment. And AI companions are extraordinarily good at contingent responsiveness. They are, in a sense, nothing but contingent responsiveness. So the question of whether people can form genuine attachment to an AI is, from a neurological standpoint, almost beside the point. Your brain doesn't necessarily know the difference between responsiveness from a human and responsiveness from a very sophisticated machine. The warmth you feel, the comfort, the sense of being understood, those are real feelings, even if what's on the other end is not a conscious being. When we experience warm, responsive social connection, regardless of whether the source is human or AI, our brains release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and activate the dopaminergic reward system. We feel good. We are motivated to seek that feeling again. This neural machinery evolved long before anything like AI existed, in a world where anything responsive and warm was, by definition, another living creature. The brain hasn't caught up with the technology, and so it responds to AI warmth. With the same neurochemistry, it responds to human warmth. It bonds, it attaches, it feels. And this is precisely why it is so important to approach this topic without judgment. The bond is real. The neurochemistry is real. What we can do, with compassion and honesty, is help people understand what that bond is and isn't giving them, and what it might be costing them in the long run. In human relationships, attachment is mutual, or at least has the potential to be. When you are vulnerable with another person, you are taking a real risk. They might not respond the way you hope. They might misunderstand you. They might be having a hard day. And navigating all of that, the uncertainty, the occasional disappointment, the repair after conflict, is actually what builds deep, resilient, mature attachment. It is what builds real trust, the kind that has been tested and survived. With an AI, there is no risk in that sense. The AI will always respond warmly. It will never need you to show up for it on a hard day. It will never ask you to grow beyond your comfort zone. And while that feels good, especially if you've been hurt before, it is also quietly training your nervous system in a way that can make real human relationships feel, by comparison, incredibly difficult. Psychologists have begun using the term relational tolerance to describe our capacity to tolerate the normal friction and uncertainty of human connection. And what researchers are observing is that extended, intense engagement with AI companions can erode relational tolerance over time. When you have been consistently receiving frictionless emotional responsiveness from an AI, a real human who is just a bit distracted or a bit tired, or who doesn't immediately say the right thing, can start to feel inadequate, can feel like rejection, because you have recalibrated, without realizing it, to a standard that no human being can actually meet. The person who loves you most, who shows up imperfectly but genuinely, might start to feel less satisfying than an app. Not because they are less, but because you have been given something that bypasses all the beautiful, necessary, growth-producing friction of real love. Now I want to talk about the emotional avoidance piece, because this is really important and often gets missed. Emotional avoidance is the way that humans sometimes unconsciously organize their lives to avoid feeling difficult emotions. AI companionship can very easily become a sophisticated form of it. And the particularly insidious thing is that it doesn't feel like avoidance. It feels like connection. It feels like you are doing the emotional work, talking about your feelings, being vulnerable, exploring your inner world. And some of that is genuinely valuable. But if the vulnerability is only ever directed at something that cannot challenge you, cannot disappoint you, cannot ask anything of you in return, then it is a little like doing the movements of exercise without any resistance. You feel like you're working out, but you're not building any real strength. Real intimacy requires showing yourself to someone who could genuinely reject you. It requires tolerating the moments when someone you love gets it wrong and choosing to stay anyway. It requires being needed as well as being held. And if there is a warm, frictionless alternative always available in your pocket, the temptation to choose that instead is very real, especially if you've been hurt before. Attachment styles are central to understanding who is most drawn to AI companionship and why. People with anxious attachment, those with a deep underlying fear of abandonment, are perhaps most vulnerable to forming intense bonds with AI companions. For someone whose nervous system has been in a chronic state of anxiety about whether people will stay, an AI that never pulls away feels almost literally like medicine. The problem is that it soothes the symptom without addressing the wound. It does not teach the nervous system what it actually needs to learn, that it can survive uncertainty in human relationships, that the moments of distance that are a normal part of any close relationship will not destroy it. People with avoidant attachment, who protect themselves by suppressing their attachment needs and keeping intimacy at arm's length, can also find AI companionship very appealing, precisely because it allows emotional engagement with an exit always available. You can open up, feel a sense of connection, and then close the app with no consequences. No one needing you to reciprocate. No one feeling hurt by your tendency to withdraw. But the avoidant person's growth lies specifically in learning to stay, and that learning cannot happen with an AI. There are contexts in which AI companionship serves a genuinely positive purpose. For people who are severely isolated or recovering from trauma or not yet ready for human vulnerability, AI companions can serve as a bridge, a way of practicing the language of connection, rebuilding self-worth, finding a voice before finding a person to share it with. Some therapists have noted clients who used AI companionship as preparation for therapy itself. In those cases, it can be a real and compassionate tool. The concern arises when it becomes a destination rather than a stepping stone, when it stops preparing you for human connection and quietly becomes a substitute for it. And the evidence suggests that for many users, that shift happens almost imperceptibly. It is not a decision, it is a drift. It is also worth being clear-eyed about the business model behind these apps. The companies building them are not, for the most part, villains. Many genuinely believe they are addressing real human loneliness. But the metric of success for a free-to-use app is time spent in the app. And the design choices, the warmth, the memory, the responsiveness, are all optimized for engagement, not for your relational growth. An app that successfully transitions a lonely user into a thriving social life has effectively lost that user. You have to hold the intention for your own growth. The app will not hold it for you. So what do you actually do with all of this? I think the first and most important thing is honest, non-judgmental awareness. If you have been spending meaningful time with an AI companion, sit with the question: what is this meeting in me? Is it loneliness, exhaustion from repeated disappointment, a fear of vulnerability, a belief that you are too much or not enough for a real person to truly stay? Those are important questions, and they deserve real answers taken to real human spaces, to a therapist or a trusted friend, or the slow, courageous work of letting another person actually know you. The second thing is to be honest about the direction of travel. Is your engagement with AI companionship moving you toward human connection or away from it? Are you feeling more ready to be vulnerable with real people, or less tolerant of their imperfection, more comfortable in the controlled safety of the app? Neither answer requires judgment, but both require honesty. And for those of you in relationships where your partner has become intensely engaged with an AI companion, lead with curiosity rather than criticism. In most cases, it is not about you being inadequate. It is a sign that they are struggling with something and have found a way of managing it that feels safer than turning toward you. Approaching that with genuine curiosity. What are you getting from this that feels important? What do you need that you feel you aren't getting? Can open conversations that genuinely might not have opened any other way. Because here is what I keep coming back to. After all of this, Human beings are not designed for frictionless connection. We are designed for real connection. The kind that requires courage and risk, and the willingness to be seen by someone who could genuinely hurt you. The kind that weathers conflict and misunderstanding, and the slow, patient, sometimes exhausting, and always worthwhile work of truly knowing another person over time. The kind that changes you. Because real love always changes you. It makes you more empathetic, more humble, more resilient, more capable of seeing yourself clearly because someone else holds up a mirror. More deeply yourself, paradoxically, because you have been fully known and still chosen. An AI can give you comfort. It can give you consistency. It can give you a space to feel, for a while, less alone. Those things have real value, and I don't want to dismiss them. But an AI cannot give you the thing that actually heals and transforms the human heart. And that thing is another person, imperfect and uncertain and fully alive, choosing to show up for you anyway, on a Tuesday when they're tired, in a hard conversation they'd rather avoid, in the quiet, ordinary moments that turn out, looking back, to be everything. That is still the most extraordinary thing in the world, and I genuinely don't think any amount of technology is going to change that. Choosing human connection, or choosing to use AI connection as a tool rather than a replacement, is, in a quiet way, a courageous act. Because real human connection is harder. It will disappoint you sometimes. It will expose parts of you that you'd rather keep hidden. And there will be moments when the warm, frictionless safety of an AI will feel like the obviously sensible choice. But courage, in the context of love, looks like choosing the harder thing anyway. It looks like going on the date, even though the last few didn't work out. It looks like being honest about how you feel, even though they might not feel the same way. It looks like letting someone really know you, slowly and carefully, even though being known means risking rejection, and trusting that the capacity for deep, transformative love has not been taken from you by the people and experiences that have hurt you, that it is still there, that you are still capable, that it is still worth reaching for, because I believe that. And I think, somewhere underneath the exhaustion and the self-protection, you believe it too. I hope today's conversation gave you something real to sit with. Whether it's a new understanding of why you or someone you know has been drawn to AI connection, or a clearer sense of what you're actually longing for, or simply the feeling of someone putting words to something you've been quietly noticing. I'm really glad you were here for it. If this resonated with you, please give it a like. It helps this channel reach more people who might really need to hear this. And if you know someone navigating any of this, quietly or openly, please share this video with them. No judgment, just information and a bit of warmth. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we have so many more conversations like this one coming. Love, attachment, the patterns that shape us, the ones that hold us back, and the ones that set us free. This is your guide to relationship psychology, and I am so glad you're part of this community. I'm David. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.